We're coming back for some brand new breaking news. MS Now has just learned that FBI Director Kash Patel may be out of a job in the coming months. 3 people with knowledge of the situation say President Trump and his top aides have grown tired of Patel and the unflattering headlines he's been generating recently.
So if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not working, then how is it that the FBI delivered the safest America under President Trump's leadership in the history of our country?
That was the FBI Director of the United States, live on national television, furiously threatening to sue a magazine before the cameras even stopped rolling.
I've never been intoxicated on the job, and that is why we filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit. And any one of you that wants to participate, bring it on. I'll see you in court.
He sounded cocky. He sounded ready for war. But there's one massive problem by the time this interview ended. It wasn't the Atlantic that was destroyed. It was him. Stay with me, because this is explosive. I'm going to break down exactly how Patel's desperate, ego-driven attempt to bully his way out of a damaging scandal detonated in his face right on Maria Bartiromo's show. Under her brutal questions, what he thought was a power move turned into a career-shattering meltdown.
And so, you know what? They can beat their drums and stand next to toxic waste all they want, but that doesn't make it toxic waste. And Maria, I'm happy to announce on your show that we are not going to take this laying down. You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
So you're going to sue them?
Absolutely. It's coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow you will be dropping a lawsuit against the Atlantic magazine.
Yes, I will, for defamation. And because, you know what, Maria? We have to fight back against the fake news. It's one of the many things that President Trump is so successful at in leading out on, because no one is attacked as baselessly as he is and as much as he is. And our leaders that get attacked under his brilliant leadership must do the same. And I won't tolerate their attacks on me, because they are indirect attacks on the men and women of the FBI that we've cleaned up. And this historic, prolific year of crime reduction across the board is something that all Americans should be. And I know they're proud of it because I travel across the country and they say our communities are safer than ever before.
That was not the performance of a strong, confident leader defending his agency. That was the desperate outburst of a man who knows the walls are closing in fast. Kash Patel stood there on national television, puffing out his chest, threatening lawsuits, and boasting about stopping terrorist attacks while attacking the press as a fake news mafia.
I can say unequivocally that I never listen to the fake news mafia. And as when they get louder, it just means I'm doing my job. This FBI director has been on the job twice as many days as every director before me. What that means is I've taken half as many days off as those before me. What that means is I've taken a third less vacation than those before me.
But the second the cameras stopped rolling, the real story was already exploding behind the scenes, and it is far more damaging than anything he said on that couch.
Patel, according to multiple current officials as well as former officials who have stayed close to him, is deeply concerned that his job is in jeopardy. He has good reason to think so, including some having to do with what witnesses described as bouts of excessive drinking.
According to detailed reporting from The Atlantic, Patel's problems are not rumors or political attacks. They come from multiple current and former officials inside the Justice Department and the White House who are genuinely alarmed. These are people who have worked directly with him. They describe a director who has repeatedly shown up impaired. On more than one occasion, his own security detail struggled to wake him because he appeared heavily intoxicated. Last year, the situation became so serious that they actually requested breaching equipment, the same specialized tools SWAT teams use to break through fortified doors, because Patel had locked himself inside his office, could not be reached. That is not a minor lapse in judgment. That is a national security failure at the very top of the FBI. The pattern is even more disturbing when you look at the full picture. Sources say Patel has been drinking to excess at Ned's, a private club in Washington, often in the presence of White House and administration staff. He has also been seen drinking heavily at the Poodle Room in Las Vegas during weekend trips. Early in his tenure, important meetings and briefings had to be pushed back because of alcohol-fueled nights, and after he was filmed chugging beer with the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team following their gold medal win in Italy, President Trump himself, a man who does not drink and whose own brother died from alcoholism, personally called Patel to express his deep unhappiness. This is not the behavior of someone treating the most powerful law enforcement position in America with the seriousness it demands. While Patel was busy jetting around for personal reasons, canceling early meetings, and allegedly showing up unfit for duty, he was also reportedly ordering polygraph tests on FBI staff. These tests reportedly included questions about whether employees had ever said anything disparaging about him or the president. Instead of focusing on protecting the country, he appears more obsessed with loyalty tests and silencing internal concerns. The people raising these alarms are not his political enemies. They are officials who decided the risk had become too great to stay silent. They warned that Patel's conduct has turned him into a liability, someone whose personal behavior could compromise sensitive operations and national security itself. And yet, instead of addressing any of these serious questions about his fitness to lead, Patel chose to go on Fox News, deflect with old 2020 talking points, and attack the messenger. What you're about to see next is Maria Bartiromo refusing to let him get away with that deflection. She asked the one question he clearly did not want to answer, and his response revealed even more about just how hollow his position has become.
Well, let me ask you about the mission, because every time I see President Trump, he says this repeatedly, that the election was rigged in 2020. I mean, he says it all the time. We all know that. And it's almost getting lost because he says it so much. You've been at the FBI now 14 months. Have you done anything about that? And do you have anything to tell us about that?
Absolutely, Maria. Look, I've been with the president nearly since day one on this. As I told you earlier, I was the one that led the effort with folks like Trey Gowdy, Johnny Ratcliffe, and Devin Nunes to expose the corruption that tried to thwart President Trump's first presidential election run. And we saw the FISA abuses there. And I lived through it, and the media came at me then, too. That just shows you that when you're over the target, you keep pummeling the target because the media's going to try and pummel you. We are not going to take this and have not taken this laying down. We did already indict former Director Comey, and that's going through the judicial process. But we also, at this FBI, even though we uncovered what we uncovered back in the House Intel days, I had to come in here and find rooms that they hid from the world. I had to come in here and find access on our computer systems in restricted and prohibited case files that they purposely put in places for no one to see and find. We have found all this information. We are working with our Department of Justice partners, and I am never going to let this go.
Maria Bartiromo was not playing along. She looked him straight in the eyes and asked the one question Kash Patel clearly dreaded after 14 months on the job. What exactly have you done about the 2020 election? The question was blunt, direct, and devastating. Patel snorted, then launched into his tired, rehearsed script, indicting Comey, finding hidden files, claiming he would never let it go. But it landed completely flat. His voice lacked conviction. His answers offered nothing new. It was the same old deflection he's been repeating for years. In that moment, on live national television, Maria Bartiromo publicly humiliated him. She exposed the emptiness behind his tough talk and his $250 million lawsuit threats. The man who just minutes earlier had declared war on the press suddenly looked defensive, unprepared, and out of answers. The interview had turned into an exposure not of the Atlantic, but of Patel himself.
But first, I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to this reaction to your piece, because Patel's advisor, Erica Knight, called your piece fabricated stories. She said that every serious D.C. reporter passed on. Sarah Fitzpatrick and Jeffrey Goldberg printed it anyway. Lawsuit is being filed. What do you say to that?
I say that I am a very careful, very diligent, award-winning investigative reporter with a history of award-winning work across multiple organizations. You and I, in fact, have worked together previously. I stand by every word of this reporting. We have excellent attorneys, and it is a surprising statement, but a very telling statement, I believe. And I would also note, we reached out for comment to the White House and to the Justice Department, neither of which disputed anything. We gave multiple opportunities, including 19 detailed questions. So we stand by every word. And look, this is telling, because there are so many people. You alluded to it earlier. These are not the types of people who are willing to speak out outside of the FBI, especially right now, because Kash Patel is going after people with polygraphs in a way that has never happened at the Bureau. So for it to be this level of alarm, this is people genuinely concerned that America is in danger as a result of this conduct. And I feel, a real responsibility to take care of that reporting incredibly carefully. And The Atlantic is nothing but diligent, and we have amazing lawyers and amazing editors, and I stand by every word.
The Atlantic reporter didn't flinch. She stood firm with total confidence, declaring she stood by every single word of her reporting. As an award-winning investigative journalist, she revealed that both the White House and the Justice Department were given multiple chances to push back, including 19 detailed questions, yet neither disputed a single fact. Their silence was deafening. This moment delivered the final, crushing blow to Kash Patel's aggressive strategy. His fiery threats to sue the Atlantic and crush the fake news mafia now looked like empty bluster from a cornered man. While he attacked the press as toxic waste on Fox, the journalist calmly reminded everyone that the sources were not outsiders hunting clicks. They were insiders deeply alarmed by Patel's conduct, people so concerned about America's safety that they risked retaliation, including aggressive polygraph hunts inside the FBI. In one swift stroke, the narrative flipped. Patel's aggressive defense didn't protect him. It only made the reporting ring louder and the questions about his fitness impossible to ignore. The backfire was total, and the damage to his credibility was now spreading far beyond the Atlantic's pages.
I mean, I believe the reporting. I'm just completely, first of all, believable. I mean, this is someone that has already abused the office. He's already abused taxpayer resources. And the fact that he's having to interact intoxicated with agents of ours, the fact that he is missing meetings repeatedly over and over again. I mean, the man, in my opinion, has been dishonest with the Congress as well in hearings and in depositions. He has had no business running this agency. He had no experience to run this agency. He should never have been put in charge of the FBI. Now, look, there are also reports up there that the White House, and there's folks there that think he's also a liability. He should be removed from leading the FBI. This DOJ and the FBI are just, both of them, they're just immensely corrupt. The FBI under Kash Patel has essentially been weaponized to go after Donald Trump and his enemies. And now they want to give the FBI and Kash Patel more power and the ability to spy on Americans. And so Kash Patel should do the right thing and resign. There's plenty there's plenty to investigate.
Even voices from inside the same political circle are now openly turning against Kash Patel. Congressman Robert Garcia didn't hold back, calling him a liability who has abused his office, wasted taxpayer money, shown up intoxicated around agents, and lied to Congress. This is no longer just opposition noise. When people who should be defending him are demanding his resignation, it signals that Patel's position has become completely unsustainable. The truth is brutal but undeniable. Kash Patel was never qualified to run the FBI, and his entire tenure has been one long display of ego, indulgence, and incompetence. We already knew about the private jets he used to chase his girlfriend's performances, the late nights at clubs, and the early meetings he casually canceled. But the latest revelations paint a far darker and more dangerous picture. Multiple insiders describe a director whose personal behavior has repeatedly compromised his ability to lead, from security details struggling to wake him, to the shocking request for breaching equipment just to reach him behind locked doors. While America faces real threats, the man in charge appears more focused on settling personal scores, demanding loyalty tests through aggressive polygraphs, and launching lawsuits than on doing the actual job. This is infuriating. The FBI is supposed to be the premier law enforcement agency protecting this country, yet under Patel it has been dragged into scandal after scandal, taxpayer resources wasted, morale inside the bureau reportedly plummeting, public trust eroding. And all the while, Patel struts on television acting like a victim of the fake news mafia instead of taking any responsibility. His Fox performance wasn't leadership, it was a pathetic attempt to save his own skin by recycling old 2020 talking points and hoping no one would notice the growing mountain of evidence against him. The most alarming part? Even the White House is reportedly viewing him as a major distraction and liability. President Trump has a well-known pattern. He lets stories build, lets allies and the public say what he's thinking, and then makes the decisive cut when the pressure becomes too great. Patel seems to understand this game. That's why he kept pandering to Trump's base with the same tired lines. But after everything we've witnessed, the drinking concerns, the security breaches, the internal alarms, and now public calls for his removal from his own side, it's becoming harder and harder to believe he can survive much longer. This situation is a national security emergency. While Patel is distracted by lawsuits, loyalty purges, and personal drama, critical work at the FBI is suffering. Communities deserve better, agents doing the real work deserve better. And the American people deserve an FBI director who shows up sober, focused, and fully committed, not someone whose fitness for the role is now openly questioned by people inside his own administration. The damage to the FBI's reputation under Kash Patel is already done. Whether he is fired tomorrow or clings on for a few more weeks, the institution has been weakened. The only question left is how much longer President Trump will tolerate this embarrassment before acting. The longer it drags on, the greater the risk to the country. If you've been watching this unfold and you're as outraged as I am, make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what happens next.